Hello, salve, deities. Welcome everyone, magical ones, to this fairy stitch vlog. I'm Fairy, and welcome to this another episode. I hope that you will find it interesting, and I hope that it will. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's tell you what it is. First of all, like I say, I'm Fairy. Welcome, and if you're new to the channel and don't know what I do or talk about, well, generally I talk about fairies and fairyology. I am a certified fairyologist. I am a certified cat trainer, and so sometimes we will talk about animal welfare and cats mainly. We do a little bit of gardening. We do a little bit of baking now and then. We do definitely art and craft. I'm an artist. I am a knitter. I've been an instructor. And that's what I usually will focus on here on this channel. So please check out any of my old episodes if you haven't already. You see there is a variety of things on there. There's more to come. So I hope that you will subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you so much. I do appreciate it, really do. And I hope that all of you will watch this and enjoy this episode. So as I say, I am a certified fairyologist, and I do a Faery Craft magic practice. So we also talk about spell work, and I create things, and we work with puppets, and we do a lot of magical things with herbs and crystals. Candles definitely is a big one for me. Color magic. Anyway, I'm going to mention all of that. So today the episode is all about Faery Craft magic. And so if you're brand new to this subject, actually, I hope that this will be like a really quick crash course on working with the fairies and joining a practice or starting your own practice of working with nature and working with the fairies. That is the main thing. So I generally write all my information and notes and stuff in my fairy journal. And so I'm going to refer to that because last night I was sitting through and writing my notes, and I was kind of thinking about, what is it that I really wanted to focus on to help you understand. And again, if you already know about fairy craft, great. Um, Perhaps your practice is different, and that's fine. Maybe you want to get into it more. Maybe you're just interested in what somebody else does. That's fine. So this should give you a quick overview of some of the main things that I do and what I work with, and you can use that as a model or you can change it up for yourself. That's fine too. The more personal you get with it, the better, because it really goes into what you want to work with, what you want to deal with, what you need, in your life. And so you need to personalize it at some point. You really do. But I can give you some guidelines as to what I do and what fairy craft magic generally will work on or encompass. And then it's up to you to take it from there and, add to it, change it, whatever. So, anyway, let me find my note page here. And again, I've been doing this for a while now. I think I originally started working with the fairies and learning about them, studying them. Actually, the first thing was kind of learning about fairies and learning about fairyology, because I didn't even know there was a study for it, and there is. So I didn't even know at that point. And I think that might have been, let's see, this is 2025. Heavens, I think my very first journal, my very first fairy journal, I'm trying to think. Was it 2012? 2016? I'm not sure. It's been a while. And again, I spent the first few years just learning about fairies. So I was reading all this stuff. I was checking out authors who are, reputable with this. I started reading novels, and I started doing more and more artwork related to the fairies. And so then after that, I started getting into more of the magic practice and encompassing that into my life. So then that magic practice I've only been doing maybe 2 years, 3 years, something like that, vaguely. The rest of it was all study. The rest of it was all education. The rest of it was just connecting, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I've been at it a while. And you never stop learning, okay? You'll never stop learning. You'll never graduate from this study. And you'll never be done with learning, okay? So, which is kind of cool because in a way, it's like this is a lifetime pursuit, and so in lifetime education. So as long as you can continue to study and work and write about it and learn about it and, reflect on it, I mean, it's going to be a lifetime thing. So kind of fun. All right, so anyway, these are my guidelines, okay? These are my guidelines of generally what I do regularly with my practice with learning about the fairies. Now, again, this is something that you can just model after and change it to yourself. That's fine. So first things first. The fairies, the fae, generally they don't like the name fairies, by the way. I'm just going to say that. They don't like the name. They actually consider it insulting or belittling. So generally they like good people, good neighbors. I think fae, if you just use word fae, F-A-E, you might be okay. For some reason, they don't like the word fairy. Doesn't matter how you spell it, they don't like it. So never call them fairies if you ever deal with them. Never call them fairies. Just, if you want to say anything, just say, hello, friends. That kind of thing. Keep it general. Don't use that word. Okay, next thing. Because they're highly sensitive, they can get easily insulted, and generally, they get really pissed off. So you could have some problems afterwards if you're insubordinate, if you insult them, if you're not gracious, and that's right. So my point is, you ask the fairies for something. You don't demand, you don't expect, and you don't make it a blank statement. You ask them. Okay, that's key. Next thing, I already said, gratitude. You want to show gratitude when they do help you, or if they are nearby, or if they've aided you in some way. But again, another thing you got to be careful of is you cannot say the words, thank you. It's insulting to them too, for some reason. They don't like those words, they don't like the term, but you still got to show them gratitude. So you need to do it in a different way. Word it in a different way. So you would say something like, I am grateful to you for this, or this is much appreciated, or your help, or I appreciate it. If nothing else, if you don't want to get into actually speaking, you can show them. So again, show of gratitude. So at the fairy ring, or out in the garden, or if you're traveling somewhere and you're out in a forest or something, or visiting a botanical garden or whatever, you want to show them gratitude. So you need to give them something or leave something for them, like a little tiny token, whether it be a little bit of food or some fresh water, or maybe you've got like a little sparkly thing you can leave, or a little tiny piece of jewelry or something. Generally, if you're going to be out in public, though, if you're going to be out of another public space, you might not want to leave anything, because it's not your place to leave anything. It's not yours. But in your own garden, if your own yard, or a family member's yard, you could, So again, um, they like to have gratitude shown to them for their help, their advice, for being around, for whatever. Okay. Next thing is you want to help nature. Now, keep in mind, not all the Fae like nature. I mean, we grew up with this romanticized Victorian age, Disney version that all the fairies love nature, love animals, and they want us to preserve it. Not all of them do. Some of them don't give a damn. Some of them don't like it. you know, I mean, it depends on the type of fae, and it depends on, what environment they live in, what's their home. But I would say a lot of fairies, a lot of fae do like or at least respect nature because they understand without nature, they can't live. Without nature, we can't live. So it's all connected. So you need to help nature as best you can. So if you grow some stuff, flowers, herbs, vegetables, fruit. Nurture what's there. If it's not there and it's not going to harm anything, it's not going to damage anything, grow something. Plant something. You know. If you're out visiting, like I say, botanical garden, an arboretum, you're out at the sea, there's our sea fairies. If you're out, in a lake or a pond or a forest or a meadow, whatever, if you're visiting somewhere, if you're out in the great oaks or where, you want to be able to at least respect nature. So don't damage anything. Don't take anything home. Don't leave litter. And if you find anybody who has done that, call them on it. Say, look, what you doing? If you find any litter, pick it up. Pick it up. Take a trash bag with you, just a little one. And if you're out on a hike or whatever, and clean. Pick up what you find. You find trash laying around, pick it up, throw it away, please. The fairies will appreciate it because that's less they've got to deal with. That's less they have to deal with. And plus, a lot of our man-made things, cups and paper and bags and stuff, that's not always naturally made stuff. So it's not going to help the environment by laying all over the place. And you might be, a trash bag might be sitting on top of a fairy's home. I mean, you'd be ticked if somebody threw something on your house, right? So, pick it up gently and remove it and get it out of there. That's helping nature too. Couple different things. All right, next thing that I do and use is candles, herbs, crystals, stones, natural elements, and I know there's one other thing here and I can't read it. Red. Natural elements and items. Okay, could not read my writing. Guess I should have my glasses on. But anyway, I work with candles a lot. I use candle magic, color magic, herb magic, probably the most. I usually put a crystal in with it too. I don't have a lot of them. I have a few stones. I have a couple crystals. Not a lot, but I have a few. I have a few things. I use my fairy. I'm wearing my fairy rosary, and I've got my rose quartz here as my pendant. But, I use the crystals in my spell work on my little offering table. But the main thing I would say, I always have a candle, at least one, probably two or three. And color magic is important because I want the color to correspond, the color of the candle to correspond with what I'm going for. If I'm using a little poppet, I do knit my own poppets and sell them when I can. So I've got the little poppets, and I try to do them in different colors that represent different things. So color magic is a big thing for me too. I use that a lot. And then of course I will sprinkle the herbs in the candle or around them, and I'll have the crystals put around everything. So, I can have a full offering table for each spell I want to do. And generally I'll put a tablecloth. I sometimes will put a tablecloth over it. So the cloth color will matter, or the design of the cloth will matter. and that will enhance the spell. So I try to coordinate a bunch of stuff together, but that's the way I do it. I just, line the table, and I put everything on. I try to make everything spaced and look nice, and because that might be a permanent thing for like a couple of weeks, it might be just a spell I might do for a couple of days, and then I'll change it. Take it down, change it. So, yeah. Commune with nature. That's a big one too. Again, that's kind of goes along with helping nature. But communing, I will go out into the big fairy garden and I'll try to sit out there. You sit out there in the sun, you sit out there in the breeze, I'm listening to the water fountain running, and I'm trying, and I'll watch the hummingbirds flittering around above me trying to eat, and the birds are chirping around, and the cats might be roaming around, but I try to get out there every day. I don't always, but I try to get out there every day. And, you check your plants, make sure the seeds are growing. And, I'll sit out there and just try to enjoy the environment. Just try to put myself at ease for a few minutes. Try to, just let it go. My stress and everything. Try to relax. I'm trying to communicate with nature, trying to just enjoy the blue sky, and you figure the fairies are nearby, you just gotta want to feel them, that kind of thing. And it's a way to do it. It's a way to relax. It's a way to commune. It's kind of it's a form of meditation, but it's not. Some people would say it's more of just a mindfulness. It depends on how deep you go, how long you're out there, and what you're really focusing on. Me, I don't get that deep at that point. I'm more like just trying to release the stress, and just kind of sit out there and just try to enjoy nature for a few minutes. So, communing with nature. Next thing is is kind of what the Wiccans believe in. I believe, I think, I think it's the Wiccan beliefs. They believe in the mantra that whatever you send out comes back 3 times to yourself, something like that. Again, that I kind of believe. I kind of focus on that with my practice. So for Faery Craft, I mean, it can't hurt. So again, Faery Craft is about helping yourself, helping nature, helping other people. It's not about baneful work. It's not about curses and hexes, and it's not about getting even and all this other. It's more about nurturing, protection. You need protection from somebody, or you want to protect somebody else from someone else or something. There you go. Protect your animals. It's about, communing with nature. It's about, getting your garden to grow and getting your cat to eat and feel better if it doesn't feel well, or, if you want to help your children to learn about fairies and be happier instead of being nervous and anxious about school or friends, or, it's all, fairy craft magic is about goodness. It's about happy. It's about nature. It's about being mindful in yourself and being happy in yourself. It's about protection and strength, courage, that kind of thing. So again, it's not meant to be used as a negative thing. And, it's not meant to be used as dangerous or ill feeling to anybody. Fairy craft is about the good things, good intentions, good people, good thoughts, good health, that kind of, you got it. Okay, you got the point. All right, so another thing I do too, next guideline is to use your talents, skills, information, and knowledge to connect to the fairies in a positive way. So, case in point, as I said before, I like to do some gardening. I like to grow sunflowers. That's connecting with nature. I take care of the garden cat family that roam around and kind of adopted us. We're kind of their foster family. So again, I take care of them, feeding them and watering them and try to give them shelter and try to keep an eye on them until they're old enough or big enough or whatever and leave. I feed the birds when I can afford to. I buy bird seed or I'll make hummingbird food, or both when I can. I'm an artist. I'm a painter, sculptor, designer, sketch artist. I'm a knit artist. I do knitting. I teach. So again, I do crafting. I do other things. So make soaps, and I make my own candles from time to time, and those are things I would like to do at some point if I can ever get the funds. But again, I'm using my skills. I'm using my talents to connect to the fairies. So I'm doing my fairy artwork. I write the poetry. I keep my journals. I do, artwork for sale and for myself, that kind of thing. And I'm using that to connect. Do some sewing projects if I do a quilt, or mainly if I'm knitting a fairy doll or a fairy related item. Again, I'm using all of that. And I use my knowledge because of what I've read and what I study about the fairies. So again, you got to know what should you leave, what should you give them, how to make a fairy house, how to make a fairy garden, whether it be in a little pot or a big, big arrangement outside. I mean, you need to know all this stuff. What works, what doesn't, what do they like, what will they respond to, what makes you happy, So again, it's about using your own skills and talents. You're a dancer, you are dancing for the fairies. Every time you dance, you're dancing for the fairies. If you're thinking about it and if you're sending that out to them. You're a singer, you play an instrument. They love music. They love dancing. They love singing. They love poetry. So, you could write a little poem and go out to the fairy garden and read it to them. You could do a little dance, You can play the piano. You could play any of your instruments for a few minutes and you're sending them a song. That's a way to connect to them, makes yourself feel better, and you're honoring them at the same time. So again, use your talents, your skills. Let's see, what else? Write your own spells. Sometimes I will. Now, I've had a really hard time trying to figure out how to write my own spells because it's like, well, if I write my own, maybe it won't work. Maybe it won't be as potent. And that's a possibility. And so then you start looking around at the books and the spell books, and you're listening to other podcasters that give you ideas, and you're like, okay, I'm going to write this down. So what I've done is, and you can do it too, is, if you get an idea or you find a spell you like, write it down in your journal, hang on to it, and try it. If it doesn't work for you, for the first or second time, give it a couple tries. If it doesn't work by the second or third attempt, you might need to tweak it. In fact, you're probably going to have to, because that spell was written by somebody else for their needs, for their intentions. Even though they're sharing it with you, it was written for their ideas from their perspective. They may not work for you because you're not in the same perspective. You're not in the same mindset. You need to tweak that spell to make it your own. And for the longest time, I was really struggling with that because I just kept thinking, well, they said this spell worked, so I'm going to try it. And sometimes it would work, but I realized I have to personalize it myself. And now I'm a little more free about writing my own. I might still use one I see somewhere on one of the witchcraft books or one of the spell books or a post on a Facebook group or something that I'm part of, and I'll go, you know what, I like that works, but I need to change this word or this phrase and make it this for me. And so I still kind of do that, and at some point I will just write my own from beginning to end without referring to anything else. That will come in time, but again, you can use somebody else's as a model, but then make it your own. So write your own spells. Okay, so another thing is, like I say, I use color magic, doll magic, candle magic. Um, my mind went blank. Sorry. Uh, Basically, what I've already talked about. But like I say, I really focus on using candle magic and herbs. Crystals are always included. Sometimes I will use the dolls, poppets. I like poppets. Now, poppets, from what I've heard, from what I've looked up, from what I've read, poppets, even though they're similar to voodoo dolls, they're different. Now, people can argue that. That's fine. If you think that they're the same, that's okay. For Faery Craft, poppets are more of a positive, okay? Poppets, like I say, I knit my own and I sell them and I keep some for myself. Poppets are little dolls. They can be a Barbie doll. They can be a Monster High doll. Um, they can be a rag doll that you either made or got from the thrift store. They can be a stuffed animal. They can be a porcelain doll. They could be, handmade. They could be a handmade craft doll, or they could be an expensive collector doll. As long as you have a connection to the doll, and then you put stuff on it, or tie things to it, or whatever, that, you're adding those tag locks to it, which, make the doll more potent, okay, and it helps you for your spell. I don't use pins in the poppets. Now, I always show the voodoo dolls with the pins. Voodoo dolls and pins are a different subject, okay? And generally, it's used for good things. Sometimes it's not. And the movies love to use them as a negative thing. So we all have this assumption that when you see a voodoo doll or even a puppet, that, danger is coming, or it's like stabbing somebody with it. That's movies. That's Hollywood. That's, writers and directors that want to, scare the hell out of you, or really, they really want to stick it in your face. And generally, puppets and voodoo dolls are not used in that way. Okay, so we'll leave voodoo dolls alone for right now. I'm going to say it's poppets. Poppets I use for the Faery Craft magic. I don't use pins. What I do is I might put something on it. I will sprinkle herbs on it, and then I'll have it hold a crystal. I'll put a crystal in its lap, or, tie the crystal up in its arms or something if it's going to be a long-term thing. And I will have the little doll hold the poppet. Now, if it's a poppet for another person, if I can get a tag lock or have a tag lock, like their birth name and date and stuff, and you put a little paper on it, it can hold the paper, you try to personalize the doll for whatever you need done. But I don't use pins, and I don't use them for negative things. It's for help. It's for guidance. It's for protection. I mean, I make I make a little cat protection kit that includes the little paper, the little parchment paper, and it includes a little cat-headed poppet doll. And also, I made this really cute kit, and I do try to sell them. And that way you can use it for your cat, or I can make them for dogs. You can use it for dog, and it's to help make them feel better, or to protect them from something or someone, that kind of thing. So again, I use poppets a lot, and that's for that reason, But that's me, okay. All right. So then the other thing, which I forgot, but I did mention, is to write about the fairies. Write about the fae, learn about them. And so again, like I said, I have put these notes in my fairy journal, okay? And this is a hardbound sketchbook. Since I like to include poems and my own artwork, and I do scrapbook pages sometimes, I just write, and I'll write down my notes and journal entries and things. So I always keep a journal or a diary. I think this is number I think since I've started, I journaled from the very beginning. So this is my fifth journal. And usually I can usually fill it in a year. This year I've been a little bit slower, so I haven't finished it yet. For 2024, I didn't finish it, so I'm still working on it. But again, you write down your notes, you write down your journal entries, anything you read that you find interesting, log it in. Write in your spells, write in your, do your artwork, do your poems. If you're not into any of that, that's fine. Just write your journal entries. When you go out and you're sitting, you can write your meditations, or you could write the fairies a letter in your journal, and leave it out there for them for a few minutes and invite them to read it, that kind of thing. You can do all sorts of stuff. And that's a great project for any age. So, like, if you want to introduce your children to fairyology and to the fae, then you start them on writing a journal. Make it fun. Let them draw in it. Let them, sketch in it and paint in it and write about stuff and, things they want to do, things they want to learn, all related to the fae. It's a great way to do it. And if you're a senior and you're looking for a hobby, maybe something that, you can really enjoy, that you can take with you when you go somewhere, but it's not cumbersome, it's not overly expensive. Again, keeping a fairy journal or diary is a great project. So again, that's something else you want to definitely look into. But that's another thing I do. Let's see. Now, there are different classifications of a fairy. A fairyologist and fairy craft practitioners. Some people would say classifying yourself or giving yourself a title might limit yourself from whatever you do. Well, there is that. But if you're like me, I can't really classify myself as one fairy type over the other, because I do two or three different kind of practices within one. So again, I work with color magic, I work with animals, I work with the gardening and the herbs. I do some baking, so there's, another one. And I'm definitely an artist. I do all the art. That's my main one. So again, if I had to pick one, it would probably be, I would be an art fairy. An art fairy, I should say. But I don't want to classify myself, because like I say, I do kind of all those things. So you can say, if you're a green fairy, that's where you spend most of your time working with nature. So you're out there gardening, you're out there seeing gardens, you do hiking, you're out in the forest, you check out the ponds, the lakes, that sort of thing. Again, I would say the sea fairies also. If you're interested in water and water fairies and all that, that's kind of in nature. So you can still say you're a green fairy, unless, of course, if you want to break it up. If you want to put yourself in your own classification and say, well, you know what, I really like water. I like the water element. I like to be at the beach. I like to go to a lake. I like to sit in a pond. I like to row down a river. I like to travel the seas, open seas. If that's your main thing, where you love the beach, you love the water, okay, then call yourself a water fairy or a sea fairy. Either way, But you could say you're a green fairy if you're going to work with nature. Depends on how specific you want to get. All right. Another one is art fairy. Like I said, if you work with arts, crafts, jewelry, sewing, quilting, drawing, painting, sculpture, ceramics, scrapbooking, poetry, books. I would even say dancing and singing and playing an instrument is considered an art. So there you go. So if you do any of that, or all of that, or a lot of that, you're an art fairy. Next one would be the cookery fairy. If you spend a lot of time baking and cooking and you enjoy it and this is your thing and you love cookbooks and you love to check out new recipes, you could carve in your little symbols into your baking, when you're making stuff. You can give something, a little offering of everything you bake or cook to the fairies out the fairy ring. If that's your focus, then you're a cookery fairy. That's what I would call you. Animal fairy, again, self-explanatory. If you spend all your time working with animals, whether it be a rescue or you're a veterinarian or you're a performer that works with animals, or you're an animal trainer, or you have all sorts of animals at home. You run a farm and you're just animal oriented. This is your thing. You love to be with them. You know how to take care of them. You do a great job. You're an animal fairy. And then the other classification I would say is the solar and lunar fairy, or moon and sun fairy. So again, if you love to work with the moon phases, you like moonstones, you're more active at night, you like the full moon nights, this is your main thing. If you're on the opposite, if you're a sun, you like to be out in the sun, you like to sunbathe, you love to enjoy being outdoors all the time when it's bright and sunny and everything's going good, and you like to work with sun water and all that stuff. Okay, and maybe you want to do both. If you want to do both, great, do it. No restrictions. But again, there you go. You could call yourself a moon and sun fairy. Okay, so there's some classifications that you can or don't have to classify yourself as. You could do all of it. If you want to do some of it, a little of all of it, do it. Like I say, I do a lot of it. I think I do everything except for the sun. I don't work with sun water, and if it's too hot, I don't like it. I can't be out in full sun for too long because I sunburn really badly and easily. So again, I try not to spend a lot of time out in the sun if I don't have to. But I like the moon. I love the moon phases. I love a full moon night because it's a powerful night. That's when your magic works even better. Your spells are going to be even more enhanced. I like the moon. I like to look out there and moon bathe when I can, and sit out there, especially during the summer months, because it's hot in the house all day long. Get out there and cool down and feel the breeze and look at that really dark, almost black sky with the stars, and then there's a great big full moon looking at you. It's so cool, And I love looking out the window or whatever, and you see full moon's got the whole area is bathed in moonlight. I love it. I love it. I like moonstones. I have a couple little ones. But I do have moonstones. And this fairy rosary kind of reminds me, it's kind of got like the clear crystals that when the light hits, you get the rainbow effect. So it kind of looks like a moon. I like that. So I've kind of gravitated towards, the moon a little bit. So again, I work the moon, I bake, and I do the art. And so yeah, I kind of do it all. And so can you. So don't limit yourself if you don't want to. You don't label yourself if you don't want to. But again, it just gives you some classification ideas that if you focus on one thing the most, then you could say, okay, yeah, that is what kind of fairy I would be. All right, so a couple other things. Number 7 is a fairy number. Now, that means that it's using the number 7 in your magic, or focusing on that number when you do anything, kind of adds to the power, adds to the strength, makes it more potent. It's just, for some reason, and I know I've looked it up and I can't find too much about it, but number 7 is kind of number 7 is a potent number for the fairies, because I think, if I remember some of my research, it's there's like 7 portals or something to fairyland at some point. I think it's a magic number for them. It's meant to be a good thing, a good omen. For us, there's 7 days of the week, and gosh, I know there's more associations with the number, but it's just a good, potent fairy number. Now, another one you could use is 3. 3 is potent too, but 3 is potent and important because it's in a lot of different things. 3 is in Christianity. 3 is in Catholicism. 3 is in, I think it might be one of the witchcraft practices. Not positive. And 3 just is a lot of stuff. You got the Trinity association, the 3 points, that kind of thing. Whereas 7, like I say, I gravitate towards 7. You got the 7-pointed star, which is the fairy star. 7 days of the week. There's kind of 7 moods you can get into. There's generally 7 colors to a rainbow. This kind of thing. But 7 has an association with the fairies. So I use 7 a lot for my stuff when I'm doing my spells, or just to have a lucky number, when you're playing that lotto. I try to hit a 7 as often as I can. All right, so now another thing is working with animals. Now, animals, whether it be an actual animal, and my actual animal is in here somewhere. I think she's on the windowsill. But you can actually work with actual animals, or you can work with animal spirits. And that's where you can ask the spirits to come and help you, lend their strength or their power to whatever the spell is, or if it's, to infuse, a talisman or a token, or if you just need more strength for yourself, you just need help here, you might want to channel or ask an animal spirit for help. But you can work with animals, and each animal represents different things. It represents different associations in any kind of magic. So again, if you're interested in that, check out some animal magic books. I know I have shown a couple on previous episodes. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Oh. So, learn about the animals, whether it be a bird, a cat, a dog, excuse me, an more exotic animal, giraffe, raven, lion, tiger, alligator, snake, wolf, cougar, a sheep, chicken. Every animal has a magical association, has a magical meaning. And so it can be very advantageous to work with an animal or animal spirit. So again, my animals that I generally go to when I'm needing a little extra help is a cat, a tiger, a wolf, a unicorn, sometimes a raven, and hummingbirds. Those are kind of the ones that I usually gravitate towards the most. And I don't necessarily I haven't actually asked an animal spirit to come down and help me. I generally will put like a little statue or a little figurine or something of that animal on my offering table, and I will, kind of help try to conjure up the association for the spell to make it work better. But I've never actually called an animal spirit to come down and do that. But plenty of people do, and that's fine. Good for them. I don't. But I want the association with it to be in there to help fuse, my work. So those are the animals I kind of gravitate towards. Alright, so then as I also said too, colors. I use a lot of color magic usually with the candles. So pink and green are usually my two favorite fairy colors. Now I use all the other colors for other things. I mean, green, for example, green is associated with good health, prosperity, making money, um, growing things, nature, um, richness, um, just good mental health, like a green, growing, financially helpful, all that stuff. Pink, again, is just, it's more kind of like our novels and children's TV shows and stuff. You just kind of think about the pink fairy, the pink wings. And I like that. I think that's cute. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I associate the color pink with fairy and fairyland because we've kind of all grown up being conditioned from children to kind of think about that. The pink tutu and the pink, ballerinas were always often in pink, but they kind of do the nutcracker, this kind of stuff. I think of pink as a color, but pink also is, the color of the pink rose quartz, which is, for love and help and happiness and sweetness. Pink is associated with candy. I mean, most of us like candy at some, pink and brown is, candy and chocolate, But, I mean, pink you think of as sweet, good, flowers. You think of pink flowers. I always think of the pink rose. I always think of unicorns with the flower garland necklace, and it usually has a pink flower in it. I just think pink is a wonderful, happy, uplifting, sweet color that I think of with fairies. So, pink and green are my go-tos for the fairies. So you can pick your own colors, of course. But again, get a book on color magic or look it up online or something. And I may have done a video already on color magic for Faery Craft. I'll check. If I don't have it on here, maybe it was one I was thinking of and didn't do. But I might have already. But again, check it out. Check out my other ones, and I'll go through and make sure. But there are books on it. There are online sources that you can just look up and it'll give you an idea, and you can pick your own color. Pick a color that works for you. Pick a color that makes you think of fairies and fairyland. And then use that color to represent them in whatever you might do, whether it be something you wear, something you make, something you paint or design or whatever. Use the color. It'll help you connect to the fairies, which is the whole point of Faery Craft magic. So, again, like I say, the whole thing is to have good intentions. The whole thing about Faery Craft magic is to have good intentions, to make yourself happy, to help other people be happy. It's all for good things, good intentions. Get out there and enjoy nature. Enjoy the animal world. It's about gratitude. It's about remembering we're connected to the universe. We're connected to the earth. Everything is connected. And when one thing has a problem, others may follow. And we don't want that. We want us all to be happy and prosperous and have good luck and be healthy. And, that's what we need to focus on, especially in these days and times. We got to cling to something that makes you happy, that promotes happiness. And so, again, this is my perspective. This is my practice. These are my guidelines. You can use them as a model, change them a bit as you need to. And if you're, already in the Faery Craft magic, I hope that this helps you understand it a little bit better, give you another perspective. If you're brand new to it, never heard about it, or you're interested but didn't know anything about it, I hope I've given you some guidelines to get you on the path. And I welcome you, because this is a practice that should encompass everybody. Nobody should be excluded. It shouldn't be about, oh, you're not as good as me, this kind of stuff. No, this is when it's done right and done well with the best intentions, then everybody can benefit. Everybody can be happy in this practice, whether you do it as a solitary or you do it in a group or form your own group, or just hang out with some friends now and then, but do it generally on your own. Doesn't matter if, the more people together, the better, but you don't have to. I don't generally. I'm usually solitary, not always for my, purpose, but, sometimes it's just the way it works. But again, I welcome you, and I hope that if you do continue to go down this path, that you'll be hand in hand with the fairies and enjoy it. And hopefully you will stay safe, you'll be protected, you'll feel, part of the group, and I hope that it will bring you lots of fun and something positive every day to focus on. So, welcome to the Faery Craft path, and I hope sometime we hear from you or actually chat with you at some point. And until then, thank you so much for watching this. Have a very good day. I'll see you in the next one. We'll see what other fairy dust I can sprinkle, see what else we can conjure up in the next one. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Have a fairy day. Bye-bye.